Spring training is here. Baseball is back. You can smell it in the air. I can hear the crack of the bat. I just feel the sunshine sitting in the bleachers, enjoying a Cubs game. I know you guys do too. But we're not there yet as far as the Cubs roster. There's still some moves left in the bag. And it feels like listening to baseball insider Jon Heyman, one of my real favorites when it comes to knowing what's going on and having his ear to the ground. And he's saying that the Cubs want another pitcher and an outfielder. He's also saying that they're still fielding offers on Nico Hoerner. Nico's not getting traded. We're going to get into all that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, hit the bell, be part of what we do on a daily basis with comments, and let's go. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball channel, and I'm telling you right now, baseball is in the air. You know it, I know it. It's what we've been waiting on, and I can't believe it, right? Like, seems like we just lost to the Brewers last week, and now we're getting baseball again. Okay, maybe it was a long off season, but we're not quite there yet. And I want to start with this. Jon Heyman, talking about what the Cubs may do, and some of that stuff. Said that, hey, the Cubs are still fielding offers for Nico Hoerner. I'm going to tell you right now that the Red Sox and the Brewers made that trade a couple of days ago, and I think that was the deal and that the Cubs are out. I think the Cubs are going to stick by Nico. They may listen. I think you always listen. And I've heard Jed Hoyer say this before. I remember Theo saying this. Every front office, Jim Hendry said this. You listen to anyone that wants to talk about a deal. Doesn't mean that you're going to make the deal. It just means that you listen. That's business. Nico's a free agent at the end of the year, and he's a great player, and some other teams would really like to have him. With that said, it doesn't mean anything's going to happen other than they're listening. And that's what Jon Heyman said. I don't think they're going to trade him. I talked about that yesterday with Tony Andracki, who, by the way, was fantastic, people. Make sure that you give him a shout out. Love you guys for it. I'm going to have him on more. I think he's great. And he brings us insight. He's going into his 10th year with a writer's card in Major League Baseball. It's pretty significant. I've known Tony since he was an intern. Years ago. He's a great guy. He's really smart. He understands the Cubs, and, it's going to be nice to have him on here. Now, with that said, Nico's not getting traded. If he does, it's going to absolutely, the emoji with the head blown off. It's going to be that for me. The Cubs, I think the Cubs are going to trade him to the Red Sox if they wanted prospects. And you see the deal that the Brewers got. Cubs would have gotten a similar deal, probably a little bit more for Nico, including the Red Sox top prospect. They didn't want that. Cubs fans, if the Cubs trade Nico Hoerner and they don't get something significant back that will help them this year, Cubs fans it's not going to fly. Cubs fans aren't going to like that. And look, it's a fans team. I know sometimes they say you get fired when you manage, let the fans manage, right? And I agree with that too. But at the same time, I think everybody watching knows that if you get rid of Nico Hoerner, that is going to be a significant backstep for the team that's trying to win a World Series for only the second time in 100 and some years. And so I think that the fans have spoken. I think that ownership and management have listened. I just don't see him getting traded. Matt Shaw, different story. I could see them trading Shaw, but Nico Hoerner, if they do, they're going to have to get something that's significant on the major league roster. Like if it was Tarek Skubal and they made that trade with the Tigers, we lost Nico, we lost Matt Shaw, we gave up and when I saw that the Tigers signed Justin Verlander, I'm like, they're signing a lot of guys right now, but $32 million, and that's what Skubal got, and They're either ramping up to try to win it all, or they're just ramping up to make a trade for him. I don't know. But they're in the same spot that the Cubs are with Nico. You have a much better chance of winning it all with him as your ace than you do without him. Just like the Cubs have a better chance of winning the World Series with Nico than without him. Now, Heyman went on to talk about two big moves that the Cubs may have before the start of spring training. And the first one, every time I talk about it now, I worry that I'm going to talk about this, and then by the time you see the video, that it's already going to happen. And some of you guys have been getting on me in the comment section about this, but I'm just telling you, I feel like Zach Gallen is a good possibility. I think the Cubs were trying to make a deal for him last year at the deadline, and it didn't work out. I think they tried to make a trade with Arizona. I got reasons that I think it didn't work out, but I think the Cubs were willing to give the Diamondbacks some prospects, and I think that the Diamondbacks wanted to make a deal, and some things happened, and it fell apart. Just leave it there. I think the Cubs look at Zach Gallen with what they can do in the pitch lab, with what he brings to the table. They also look at over his last 11 starts. He had a 3.32 ERA last year, and batters were only hitting 206 against him. He was turning it around. So when you look at the 4.83 ERA for the year, you can't forget the fact that he was doing better at the end of the year. And then another thing, too, and I learned this from reading Earl Weaver's book. You guys remember the Earl of Baltimore, Hall of Fame manager for the Orioles? Earl Weaver talked about I think it was when they signed Steve Stone, and you guys remember Stoney. I think it was Stoney, that he pitched for the Padres, and they had one of the worst infields ever. And he's like looking at the numbers are terrible or not great. And he's thinking if he comes to Baltimore and he plays with this Orioles defense, Mark Belanger at shortstop, Eddie Murray at first base, Doug DeCinces on that team, they had a really good team, and a defensive team. He knew that if he went and got him, that his numbers would be better. And you look at the Diamondbacks last year, if the Diamondbacks played halfway decent defense, they would have made the playoffs a year ago. Now you put him on the Cubs, and you not only do you have the pitch lab, not only do you have him trending in the right direction, not only do you have Carson Kelly, his catcher, all of that, but guess what else you have? You have great defense. You got Dansby Swanson at shortstop. You got Nico Hoerner at second. You got Michael Busch at first. You got Alex Bregman at third. And if the Cubs keep things like they are right now, Matt Shaw is a really good defender. So you're not having a big step back when you put him in the game. And if somebody got hurt, he's the kind of guy that you would want to slide in there. So until Gallen goes somewhere else, I still believe that the Cubs are firmly in the mix, just like John Heyman said. I feel the same exact way. Now, this is what was interesting to me. Cubs are without Kyle Tucker. They didn't re-sign him. And then they traded Owen Casey, which I'm still a little concerned about that, but we'll find out. I mean, who knows? I'm not a scout. Maybe he's going to be terrible. I don't think so. And so now they need an extra outfielder. And one of the guys that was mentioned is Mike Tauchman. Could Mike Tauchman come back? And I'll tell you, Tauchman, a lot of you guys loved Mike Tauchman. And, the Cubs didn't sign him. He ended up going to the White Sox. Last year he hit 263. 9 home runs, 40 knocked in. He plays the game the right way. He fits in well. He ended up playing 93 games last year. So I think this could happen. And he wouldn't have to move. Like, I went to the Cubs, went to the White Sox, and I went right back to the Cubs. Really interesting. See if that happens. Now, the last thing I want to tell you before I talk about Michael Busch is AveD. Hit that QR code. That's our Web3 home for the Cubs baseball channel. We got swag. We got money we give away, prizes, all that stuff. It's all free. It's where we hang, right? Avenue D, Mick Nation, all the things I'm involved in, roll it right up and put it in to Avenue D. All right. This was something that I read on the Bleacher Nation site. And I love those guys. And they're talking about Michael Busch and the fact that he's not ranked as one of the top 10 first basemen in baseball on some of these rankings. And I agree, man. Like, I really feel like here's the list, right? Vladimir Guerrero Jr., number 1. Pete Alonso, 2. Nick Kurtz, 3. Matt Olson, 4. Bryce Harper, 5. Freddie Freeman, 6. Rafael Devers, 7. Ben Rice, 8th. Vinny Pasquantino, 9th. And then Andrew Vaughn, 10, right? I feel like he's at least on this list at the bottom somewhere. But I think he's got the and look, here's the thing about these lists. If you're not on the top 10 list, it doesn't mean that you're not in the top 10. But it just means that you're somewhere near the bottom of the top 10 list. So what he needs to do is establish himself as one of the best first basemen in the game. And what I mean by that, and I know that he has the ability to do that, is to put himself right there around Vladimir Guerrero Jr., around Nick Kurtz, around Matt Olson, around Pete Alonso. He's good enough to do that. And I think he can. Freddie Freeman, 6 on this list. I think that this is the year where Michael Busch surpasses Freddie on this list. Of all the Cubs that I see, I think he has the potential to have the breakout year that you look at and go, hey, this guy's become a star/superstar in the game. So that's my thoughts. Anyway, love you guys. Like and subscribe and comment. Be a part of the show. We're closer to baseball, and that's what it's all about. And we will do it again tomorrow. And let me know what topics you guys want to cover. You want to talk about Nico Hoerner getting traded again?